Hello lovelies and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Today's topic is migraines. So I started getting migraines about 3 years ago and they're awful. I don't really remember the first migraine I ever had, which is pretty strange, but it took me a really long time to get used to them and to not be super afraid of them and to really learn what causes them for me. And in a way I still don't really know, but I've gotten really good at detecting when I'm going to get one. Your body actually gives you lots of warning signs before you get them. So I know this is kind of a tough topic because it really varies from person to person, but I am hoping that if you do get migraines, you can watch this and kind of learn a little bit how to detect your triggers and potential warning signs that you might be getting a migraine to make the process a little bit easier for you. So like I said, I started getting migraines about 3 years ago, and they would kind of ebb and flow. So I would get like a whole bunch of them at once, like over a couple of days or a couple of months, and then they would usually subside for a couple of months where I'd only get like 1 or 2. I'm currently in a low stage, I think, or I'm actually hoping that they're kind of going away because I was diagnosed with Crohn's almost 2 months ago, and they actually, since then, I've only had one, and that was this morning, and that is kind of why I wanted to start this video. I feel like it's a lot easier to talk about something when you're experiencing it, and I was holding off from recording this because I hadn't gotten one in almost 2 months. So migraines for me usually start 24 hours before the pain starts. So I usually wake up one morning with a bunch of anxiety, don't really know where it's coming from. I feel really down on myself and can't explain why. The only time that this really happens otherwise is if I eat sugar. But yesterday I was feeling super down on myself and I could not figure out why. It was such a beautiful day outside. I forced myself to go outside and enjoy the day, so that helped a little bit. But overall, I was just feeling super crummy. And then this morning I woke up, or I was woken up by a migraine about 6:30 in the morning, and I opened my eyes and just had like a splitting headache and couldn't see out of my right eye. So this is called an aura. If you don't have migraines, then the part before the pain that comes, or the majority of the pain that comes, is characterized by loss of vision, or it can be like stomach pains. A lot of people feel different things, but for me it's like a starry fish hook in my right eye. Sometimes it's in my left eye, sometimes it's across both eyes, but it's always like the same starry pattern, and that will slowly progress until it's in the outsides of my vision, and then I'll lose my periphery for a little bit and then it will clear up. Whew, starting to lose my breath a little. So this morning I woke up with that fish hook in my vision and I just tried to go right back to sleep. Usually sleeping it off really helps and usually ensures that the pain doesn't come on as hard as it usually does, but this morning I don't know if it was because I haven't had one in a long time. The pain was real bad. So I managed to sleep on and off while my vision was all funky, so that was really nice. Sometimes that can get really overwhelming and stressful. And I woke up around 8:30 just with a splitting headache, had to go downstairs and get some Tylenol, which if you have migraines, you know Tylenol doesn't really help. You kind of have to use like a triptan or something stronger. But I only had Tylenol on hand, and I'll explain a little bit more about my medicines later. But I took some of that, had some pretzels, felt a little bit better, but then we had church this morning and just staring at the computer because we're doing church online now because of quarantine, it just did not help the situation. So I ended up taking, I will go get it and show you. So I'm currently trying, that's the back, Social CBD, and it is the unflavored 250 milligrams. And this is the 3rd time that I've used this, so I'm not going to endorse this at all, and this is not sponsored, by the way. This is just something that a friend recommended to me that I'm trying out. It's their drops, and I think they're called isolate drops. But essentially I have heard that these drops really help with chronic pain and migraines, so I got them for the migraines and for my stomach. And I haven't really found that they've helped with my stomach so far, but I've only taken them twice and I haven't had intense stomach pains. But it's known to decrease inflammation. There's no THC in it, so it doesn't make you high at all, which I really like because it means that I'm not high going about my day and I can actually just enjoy life and without any pain. So I'm hoping that this works because Tylenol does not help me, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my story in a second, why I don't use triptans, but let's just hope that this works. So far I feel like it's actually really helping me because I don't have a headache right now. So in November, I went to Boston Children's Hospital, to a clinic that I went to a long time ago, so I trusted the doctors there. They were willing to take me at the age of 23. And they diagnosed me with having migraines with migrainosis, which I actually looked up and you can't find a lot about online. So basically what that means is I can lose my vision, and it's normal. Basically my migraines had gotten so bad in November that I felt like I had to go to this clinic, and I was losing my vision, my world would tilt sideways, and I was at work one day with horses alone at the barn, and sadly my whole world went sideways and it was really, really scary for me. And luckily the horses that I work with are really sweet and nothing bad happened, but it was definitely a scary moment. I felt really insecure about working from that point on. So I went up to Boston after that incident and they diagnosed me, and they put me on so many different pills. Basically, one of them was to regulate my mood and to help my cortisol levels, and then I was to take a triptan on top of that, and the triptan would only really work if I had that baseline medication, and then you only take the triptan every time you get a migraine. And then I was given a med pack, a dose pack. If you have migraines, you might know what I'm talking about, but essentially it's if you have migraines for longer than 24 hours, which I don't usually have. Yes, the whole process lasts about 24 hours for me, but the pain doesn't last 24 hours. It'll usually go away in about 6 hours at the most, if I'm really careful and lie down. So I decided not to take these medications, which is actually a really good call for me because come January, when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, I found out that the medications that I was recommended would have increased the bleeding in my ulcers in my stomach. So I'm very glad that I went with my gut instinct. Guys, I just side note, totally stress the importance of listening to your gut. Go with your gut. If you're in a bad relationship, go with your gut. Odds are you know. If you feel like you shouldn't take a medication that your doctor's prescribing, talk to them about alternatives. Try to see like a naturopath or a health specialist and just get their opinions. I will say though, medicine is important. If you really need a medication, take it. Don't just listen to your doctor. But at that time, my doctor and I just neither of us had the full picture, so no one was in the wrong there. No one could have known that it would have hurt me, but because I went with my gut instinct, I was really lucky, and that won't be the case for everyone. And you're not a bad person if you were me. If I wouldn't have been a bad person if I had taken those drugs and my Crohn's got worse. Who knows what would have happened? Maybe I would have been fine, but I'm just glad that I didn't. So because I didn't start taking the medications, the migraines, of course, didn't clear up. I tried to eat a little bit healthier, but I was having a lot of trouble. I had a huge sweet tooth, and I still do, but reality hit when I was diagnosed with Crohn's, and it was clear that just sugar was so toxic to my body, and the things that I was eating was so bad for me, and it was just making my body reject everything. And it was just the biggest wake-up call that you again need to listen to your gut. And I was being a bit of a hypocrite saying I don't feel like I should take these medicines, but then here I was eating like crap and not putting in the work to help myself. So getting diagnosed with Crohn's was a blessing in disguise because it really changed how I eat and taught me that I need to like truly listen to my body and not just pick and choose what I listen to, because that's obviously not helpful. My dad just decided to start vacuuming, so I apologize if you can definitely hear that in the background. But let's just talk triggers to wrap this up. I use an app called Migraine Buddy. It helps you to go through all of the different things that might have caused your migraine, from lack of sleep to caffeine intake to weather changes, and goes on and on and on. It has helped me kind of narrow down the things that trigger my migraines so that I can be aware of them from day to day. If I didn't sleep well one night, then I just make sure to eat really healthy and take care of myself for the rest of the day so that I am less likely to get a migraine because of that. I also have found out that I think my migraines are mostly caused by the inflammation growing in my stomach. So usually when you get Crohn's, there's warning signs like years ahead. It feels like it comes out of nowhere, but essentially you're having some symptoms way before the pain in your stomach physically starts. So I think that mine manifested in the form of migraines because you're more likely to have migraines if there's elevated inflammation levels in your body. And again, I'm not a scientist, but this is stuff that you can just read about on the internet, and don't always trust the internet, but a lot of holistic doctors do talk about inflammation levels, and it's really good to make sure you're eating a lot of anti-inflammatory foods, because little things like allergies and just eating sugar all the time can cause inflammation in the body. And it might not even mean that you're sick, but it just means you're more susceptible to getting ill or having migraines or just feeling anxious and not good. So now that I know that a trigger is inflammation, and if my stomach is not feeling so great, I make sure to take really good care of myself. I take it slow. I don't put a lot of pressure on myself to get a lot of things done during the day. I just try to relax. And then usually the next day I'll wake up and feel so much better, both in my stomach and in my head. Migraines typically present themselves to me in the form of anxiety, like I was talking about before. Yesterday I was feeling super anxious and had no idea why. So yours might be totally different. You might be more hungry or less hungry, or little things like this. It's just about listening to your body. A cat wants to get into my room. 1 second. This is Mary. By the way, it's Merry. Her brother is Pippin. Merry and Pippin from Lord of the Rings. They are brother and sister actually, so it's pretty cute. So it's just important for you to learn about the things that might be causing you migraines and to keep a journal. I personally have a really hard time journaling, but I found that for foods and for migraines, it's really important to keep track because it has helped me so much with figuring out what causes both. For my stomach, the food journal has helped me identify foods that I can't eat and to make sure I cross them off so in the future I can refer back to the book. And likewise for migraines, learning about anything, like even foods also can cause migraines. I am lactose intolerant, so I generally avoid dairy, but for me, just even writing down like the weather changes and just keeping notes like this or using Migraine Buddy has helped me to be able to kind of figure out when I'm more susceptible to migraines and to help either prevent them or to plan my day in the future accordingly. So I just kind of am aware of it and it doesn't come out of nowhere and really knock me off my feet and ruin my schedule that I have planned. If you guys don't know already, I am very meticulous about my schedule, and if something gets in the way of my plans for the day, I get pretty grumpy about it. I'm trying to be less impatient, but I try to blow through my migraines sometimes just because I want to get certain things done, and that has never helped. So if you do get a migraine, I know it's pretty inevitable sometimes. If you feel it coming, it's just this feeling of dread takes over you, and that can actually make the migraine worse. And I'm sure you're like, Emily, come on, like, how do you not dread it? I definitely dread it, but I just try to distract myself a little. I do try to just accept it and write in my journal if I'm feeling stressed, and that kind of helps get my feelings out on paper, or I draw for a little bit. Just try to have like a quiet activity to calm myself down, because the calmer you are, the less likely you are to have migraines, as I'm sure you know. So just try to take like 10 minutes for yourself if you start to get overwhelmed and are dreading it coming. Just take some time for yourself, have some quiet time, read, make yourself a cup of tea, even 10 minutes. Just meditate, do something like that. I found that helps lessen the intensity of the migraine if it comes at all. So when the migraine does come, just accept it. There's nothing you can do to change it. It's either going to be bad or it's going to be over quickly. And you just kind of have to roll with it. Migraines have definitely taught me the importance of just going with the flow, which is not something that I'm always good at, but migraines, when I get them, can be super intense, and just kind of giving myself the downtime and putting not a lot of pressure on myself is not an easy task, but it has taught me to slow down a lot and definitely helps when I don't even have migraines. So I'm trying to be more thankful and positive about them. That definitely helps my mindset, and then in the future when I'm dreading a migraine coming, I just remember all of the good things that it's doing for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe for more content. If you don't have migraines and just watched this video, thank you so much for tagging along. I hope that you never have to experience them, and for those that do, thank you. I hope that this helps you in any way. Just leave a comment below on what kind of migraines you get. I'm very curious about other kinds of migraines. Mine are textbook aura migraines, so I'm not super familiar with other forms of migraines, other types of migraines. But let me know what your experience is, and maybe I can come back and read some comments in another video. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you have a lovely day.